Hey everybody, this is my game Partizan, an immersive sim FPS similar to Half-Life and Deus Ex, but with fast-paced combat and retro graphics. 4 months ago, I finally graduated high school and found myself with a lot of time to work on the game. So, you might be wondering why it took me 4 months to make a new devlog. Well, it's mostly because these things take time, but I've also just been really busy with a lot of things surrounding the game outside of new features. The first thing that I wanted to add was a new movement ability, diving. I wanted a way for the player to quickly get out of danger with a single press of a button, and diving seems like the coolest way to do so. So now when a player presses Q, they'll now perform a dive, sending you in whatever direction you were heading. You can also shoot guns while diving, and since you're frictionless, they'll even push you along. Overall, it's a lot of fun, and you can now act out your favorite John Woo scenes. The next thing that I worked on was implementing multiple inventories. You can now move items from inventory to inventory. So the way I decided to check what inventories to open was just based on distance. So if you went beside an enemy and opened your inventory, you could just take all their weapons. And when doing so, they wouldn't be able to fight back. Realizing this, I decided to add a new enemy state. If an enemy doesn't have any weapons, they'll now get scared, putting their hands up and trying to find a place where the player can't see them. In the future, I'll make it so that they look for weapons to pick up, but for now you can basically just take a bunch of enemies hostage. A couple of videos ago, I added the bossy revolver, and with that, I needed a system to handle reloads with multiple steps. And with the system in place, I decided to remake the AWL and SG408 reloads, as they could just use the same system and they'll look better with it. So I did that, and overall, they look a lot better now, with starting, middle, and ending animations for each reload. I also remade a bunch of props, like the barrels, wood plank, garbage can, door, wooden ammo crate, trees, and the stun baton. And I also added some new props, like this shelf, lamp, and log. Now, up to this point, it was pretty smooth sailing. All of that progress I got done in around a month, but then I got news that there was a game jam coming up, the GMTK 2023 game jam. And being a bit burnt out on working on Partizan, I decided to participate and hopefully make a video on it. The theme was roles reversed, and my idea was basically to make a tower defense game where you don't play as the guy placing the towers, but rather one of the units. And at first, it seemed to be going well. Made a bunch of models, wrote movement code, and everything was going to plan. The footage playing now is the game a couple hours before the jam finished. And I'm not sure if I spent more time on the game it would be better, but the game was really, really boring. Believe it or not, removing the part of what makes a tower defense game fun, placing the towers, makes a tower defense game not fun. I ended up not submitting it and not making a video on it. And I'd say it was a huge waste of time, but it was honestly pretty fun not working on Partizan for a bit. After that, I felt refreshed and ready to get back to working on Partizan. So after the game jam, I decided to remake all the Ampulex models and changed how the amps work. They now have their own set of attacks instead of just using guns. I also added an Ampulex generator, which adds little core pieces and bits and zombifies basically whatever I want, giving a lot of variety to amps. And speaking of variety, I also added a brutalist decoration generator to add some details to these big concrete buildings. But moving on, I added a new weapon, the PDK. A fast-firing SMG. This thing is super fun, and I think the animations and models are some of the best yet. Now, after that, I decided that I should probably start thinking about making the level actually look good. So, I did that. I removed all the buildings, replacing them with these cliff and rock models, and I extended the level, adding this big section in the back. I also added the first puzzle into the level. After you kill all the enemies, you'll find a large gate with a valve socket in it. If you head back and look around the level, you'll find a vent, and climbing through the vent, you'll find a valve. If you grab the valve and head back over to the gate, you can put it in, and then finally, you could open the gate. I know it's not the craziest puzzle, but it's more of a proof of concept for how levels will work in the future. So that was another month of work, and at this point, I went on vacation to Cuba. It was pretty good. After coming back from vacation, things got pretty interesting. I got an email telling me that a publisher was interested in publishing Partizan. Hearing this, I got pretty excited and started setting up a time to show the game off to the publisher. I also started working on a tutorial and fixing as many bugs as possible, so that the build that I send over to the publisher would be as perfect as possible. And after all of that, a couple weeks later, the publisher didn't end up taking Partizan. Not now, at least. But that's okay. I actually felt more motivated to work on Partizan than ever before. And I think that's just because someone actually took interest in the game. Enough to have a whole team look at it, which made me feel pretty good. The scouting team at was also super sweet. Even though they didn't move forward with the game, they gave me a bunch of helpful criticism and feedback, so I think it was totally worth contacting them. But anyways, after the whole publisher debacle, I decided that it was probably a good idea for me to finally set up a Steam page for Partizan. So I started working on that. I bought a drawing tablet and drew this cool artwork and started setting up all the various art assets that I needed and submitted the page for review. My Steam page got rejected. Apparently the description wasn't long enough. My Steam page got approved, which means that you could finally wishlist Partizan. So do it. That's pretty much all the updates though. I finally have a Steam page and the game feels so much more real now. So if you're interested in Partizan, please wishlist it. It helps me a ton. Anyways, there was a lot of stuff to go through in this video, so thanks for sticking it through. I'm not sure when I'll post here next, but hopefully it won't be another 4 months till the next video, but no promises. While waiting for the next video, you could fill in some of that time by watching my other videos, starting with the one over there. But if you want more frequent updates, or just some juicy gameplay, you can follow my Twitter at SitskiDev. Also, subscribe and like the video and whatever. Anyways, see you guys whenever.